Hello, everybody. My name is Ana Rezende, and in this podcast, I will share my transformational journey to become a health coach. In each episode, I will address a different subject that impacts our health, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Because I've learned that being healthy means being in balance. If you would like to make amazing discoveries, improve your health, get inspired, and yet find sustainable ways to live and help the planet, tune in. You are in the right place. I'm your host, Ana Rezende, and Good is What Makes You Feel Well is Mama Terra's podcast.
Toma banho de cachoeira, abraça uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva, escala a montanha, contempla a vista, transcende, levita.
Today's episode is a powerful exploration of healing, creativity, and what it means to come home to yourself. I am honored to welcome Michelle Feldman, an artist, a divorced mother of 2 teenagers, and a woman who has walked through the fog of trauma and unworthiness to uncover clarity, joy, and a deep connection to something greater. Michelle's journey is raw and real. For a long time, she questioned whether her pain was even valid enough to speak about. But through practices that brought her back to her body, she found a way to quiet the noise in her mind and begin listening to her intuition. What emerged were simple, accessible tools that helped her reconnect with a sense of ease, wholeness, and wonder. As Michelle says, good is what makes me feel well, and that wisdom has become her compass. In this conversation, we explore how Michelle uses art not only as a form of expression, but as a healing bridge, a way to mend the disconnect between her inner child, her nervous system, and her sense of self-worth. From painting in secret during difficult marriage to now co-creating and inspiring others, Michelle reminds us that vulnerability is a strength and that each of us holds the power to transform pain into purpose. If you ever felt like you were too much, not enough, or unsure where you belong, this episode is for you. Please welcome Michelle Feldman. So hello, Michelle.
Hi, Anna.
Welcome to Good is What Makes You Feel Well.
Thank you. So good to be here.
For us to start our conversation, I would like to ask you what, in this moment of your life, makes you feel well?
Yeah, such a good question. I have like more than one thing, but I'll be quick.
No, you don't need to be quick.
Well, it's because it so depends on how I'm feeling at that moment. So I definitely have this toolbox of things that make me feel well, depending on what I need. And then some things that just always make me feel well. So something that always makes me feel well is when I see my kids smiling and happy, and they're in like their, I guess you call it their element, that feeling that I'm trying to go for sometimes. And it's nothing I can control, and it's something I just need to embrace when I see it. But I'm really trying to hold on to that feeling and recognize that it's fleeting and not always something in my control. I think as parents, we want to do what we can, but we know that they're going to be their own people. I have 2 teenagers, so I never know when it's going to come. So I love that. Makes me feel well, for sure. And then depending if I need to sort of fill my bucket with energy or I need to calm myself, if I'm looking to fill my bucket, I'm usually looking to connect with people, maybe get out, have dinner with a friend. I love hearing stories. That fills my bucket. I'm so curious. So that I think helping relating to people and being able to even tell your own story is sort of makes me feel well, if that's what I need at that time. And then if I need to be sort of grounded and kind of lose my sense of time and lose me, and this is, I think, where the real magic happens, is in my art. And even in my art, it depends on, sometimes I want to do something super repetitive, like work on an etching, which is just scratching into a plate over and over and over. But I can do that and I can just, like, time flies for me, which is really cool. Or do something a little bit more playful. So it's even kind of needed within my art that I have different things I could go to. And then I also love, if I need to feel grounded, to get out into nature. I find that if I'm on a hike, the key for me is if I lose sense of time and if I'm not thinking of anything else, I know that I found that well place. And I try to sustain that even through, if I have to just jump back in my car and go grab my kids and make dinner, and I try to hold on to that feeling. So it's nice just to have that feeling and acknowledge it. And yeah, that calm feeling that I get.
Yeah.
Lots of things going on.
I love that. And that is the feeling of flow, the state of
Mm,
flow,
yeah,
right? When you lose track of time and you're just all in whatever you are doing, that is the flow state. And
yeah.
that is when we can produce whatever at the peak performance. So that is what the high performance athletes do, and dancers and musicians when
Hmm.
they enter, and of course like artists in general like yourself, when they enter that state of flow is when the magic happens, right?
Magic. And isn't it? I just think it's so neat that it's a little counterintuitive when you think that when you can get into a place where almost your brain is empty, like you're just letting it all in and it's just your intuition, almost the nothingness is where everything happens. That flow,
Yeah,
like you're saying, you just have to trust. And then you start realizing that, oh my goodness, this is how it works. And I
yeah.
think it's exciting to get in that place.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. I can relate to so many of the things that you said. First, about your kids, because I'm a mom and I have, well, I don't have two teenagers, but I have one young adult and one teenager. And yes, we do feel well when we see them well, right? And then being at flow state and connecting with people. So that is
mhm.
how this whole idea of the podcast actually happened, because since I started working on my business and by myself all the time, I missed conversation time so much. When I started with the podcast, I said, oh my goodness, this is filling me up, because I was just missing the conversation and the connection with people. And it is so much more than just connecting and talking, because I can actually talk with people that resonates with me. And I'm loving it more and more every interview and every conversation. So I can totally get your
Mhm.
sense of connection.
Yeah,
So tell me how this idea of being well, how that evolved throughout your life.
that's all these are good. They're so when when you talk about your own awareness, they're all good questions because you have to think, articulate it. And for me, it really took off out of trauma, which I think is the case for a lot of people, unfortunately. And what that looked like for me was a rough marriage, a rough divorce, and my head was spinning. I wasn't thinking straight. I clearly wasn't well. I couldn't make decisions well. I was snapping a little. I was reacting. I was turning to having a drink in the evening to get through all the feelings. Nothing was feeling right. I was feeling like a victim coming out of a rough situation, navigating all those feelings. And I started doing things to make me feel well, to feel good. I say it's good in the beginning because it wasn't a whole body experience in the beginning. It was just, I remember it feels good to hike. So I'm having a rough day. I'm going to go hike. But it was never really sustainable. But it just simply started by almost in survival mode. I need to get to that yoga class. I should go out with friends. A little bit of the shoulds, but doing things that made me feel good because I was not in a good situation. But that pivoted to me realizing that these things were actually tools to my well-being. These things that I was doing all along, things I was doing since even childhood that I never embraced as being a link to my intuition, a link to my well-being. I started realizing these were all tools I could use to calm myself down, think more clearly, just like you said, get in the flow. These tools were always there, and I tapped into them more as ways to understand why I ended up in a rough marriage, why I was having anxiety over a certain thing. I started using these tools to learn about myself. And now it's just become like this really cool journey of awareness and curiosity, and even hearing what other people's tools are and why, and how we each have our own unique, I call it a toolbox, because if I'm having a rough day, we say, hey, I got to go to my toolbox. What do I need? But you don't really know what you need sometimes until you can, for me, calm myself down, really listen to my body using my tools to do that. And usually that's calming, then take it from there, you know?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing that when we go deep on the wellness space, we can find so many different tools
Yeah.
that we can tap in, and they all land differently for everybody. But what I think it's amazing is that we can experiment, right? So we can try different things in different moments and see how it feels, right? I've talked to an amazing girl that teaches yoga nidra.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, I've tried that and it's amazing. And then the breath work and Kundalini yoga, there's so many different things that we can try. So that is what I think it's amazing in this wellness space. There is always a way to feel well instead of going down the rabbit hole, the societal patterns of having a drink or
Yeah.
smoking a cigarette or.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I am a believer that the right thing will be presented to you when you're ready to receive it. Well, you usually can't predict what that may be, but you have to trust where you are right now. Sometimes I found in the beginning, I wished that I would listen to podcasts and listen to people that maybe seemed more spiritually aware or on clearer path than I was, or like I wasn't doing it good enough or whatever. But I realized that as soon as I started just being present in the moment and doing what was good for me at that moment, other things would just start, like a door would just open, and there would be, like you said, like a Kundalini teacher would just show up at the right time. And that's what I was meant to do. Something always else, like the path, I don't think it's ever going to end what you can learn. So it's really neat now when I listen to things, I just sort of put it away in the back of my head. Yeah, maybe one day that'll be what I try one time. Right now I'm doing this, and also feel like, how does that feel? Does that sound like something I want to try? And if it really go with your intuition, like if it sounds like something you want to try, you should try it and really trust that gut. And if it doesn't feel good at that moment, that doesn't mean it's not good forever. It's just maybe not at that moment, but at another moment, it may be exactly where you are. And it's kind of neat. It makes me excited for what's going to come because I have no idea, but I feel like it's getting better and better and better. And it is a neat way to live your life when you can, when an opportunity arises. And that's been interesting for me to observe within myself, how these doors have just opened in their own time, including me doing my art. So that's good. And I do also believe that we're all spiritual beings of equal ability to access all these tools. So some of the greatest religious and spiritual leaders that many of us look up to, we have the same access they do. Maybe they just can access it a little bit better and can articulate it better and teach it better or whatever it is. But all those tools they're there. They're just sitting right there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Or maybe they are just a little further ahead on their journey than us, but it's all accessible for all of us, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
equally.
yeah, equally. And I love that you mentioned trust
Mhm.
because that is the anchor. That is what I believe in my life too. That when you really trust that you are on your own journey, everything is being taken care of. You just surrender to the bigger power. If you're doing everything from your heart in alignment with your values, the path is all right. Even if we have a rough marriage, or even if we have to go through divorce, or even if we are ill, that trust is that anchor that I have. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you live your life trusting as well, because this is another thing that resonates with me.
Just to what you said, it's also especially if you've been through rough times, you begin to realize you almost had to go through those times to ask yourself, why me? And then you begin to realize that that was something that pushed you to discover the next step. I would imagine for you, you believe that because you see it working. It's not something you believe in vain. For me, I believe in it because it actually has worked. Even when you talk about doing things that feel well, makes you happy and a better human and talk from your heart, that works. You feel good at the end of the day. Things all of a sudden appear to you. Things are falling into place. So there must be something.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones that this happens to,
So when we do the things we do from this place, that is when every piece of the puzzle kind of comes together and things start to build up. So letting people know and talking about this more and more, I think it's important. The message hopefully will get to that person that needs to hear it.
I'd like to share this one little thing I have in my toolbox about what you said about feeling well and trusting that you can see it, you can test it out easily. One thing I find works is if you're doing something that makes you happy or you listen to a good song, something, anything simple, like if you're in a rough place. So when I was younger and until actually very recently, I had my head down. I wouldn't smile a lot. Had a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-worth issues, and a lot of things we could talk about. But I began to discover when I felt good and I had my shoulders back and smiling, people would smile back and people would engage. And just that one simple thing is magic. And it's something anybody can do. Smile when you check out at the grocery store, smile just to have your body like that and be in a space. And I think in the beginning, I did a little bit of like fake it till you make it, but then I realized that it was working. Like it turned into actually feeling better because people were smiling back, say hello, they'd say hello back. And it's putting that into practice, like what we're talking about, on a very simple level. Like you don't have to have all the answers of what makes you feel great. It could be nothing but just trying it out, like walk down the street and just try it out. That is a reminder of how things come back to you when you're feeling good and you exude it. So you talk about the pleasure. It's not really pleasure. I always think it's like almost like a light, like you're glowing when you're in that place. And people can sense it. Just like we can sense when maybe somebody doesn't want to be talked to, which is, I think, what I looked like before. And that's what I got.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good reminder that there's things you can do that are accessible, that are simple, that you can see this practice
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious now that you said you just suddenly realized, did you have anything that happened that changed your mindset? Somebody that you talked to, or a book that you read, or somebody that you listened to? How was the change for you?
For me, it was a long process, honestly. It wasn't an aha moment. I didn't go on some retreat. I feel like I'm a very ordinary person that's just down a path of being raised pretty typically, where I was told what I should do and I wasn't supported in the arts. And I felt unworthy. I felt a lot of imposter syndromes doing art. I ended up in a marriage where I wasn't treated how I felt anybody
You
should be
deserved, yeah.
treated. Yeah. But what happened was when that marriage ended and I was feeling one of the worst I've ever felt, knowing I had to get out of it, I'm a mom and I can't live my life like this. I really started to think about, how did I choose this person? Like, I chose this person. I fell in love with this person. And that started me on the path of really awareness, to the point of, I always knew things I liked, but thinking about how to use these tools to be a happier, better human, and not just in a moment of, like, again, trying to get out of that survival mode and into something more sustainable. I knew I wanted to live a happier life, and I slowly started to take every opportunity I could to get down out of my brain. Really, the thing was, get out of my thinking brain and into my feeling self, and go back to my childhood, go back to every opportunity I could to be like, why am I feeling unworthy? Oh, well, my parents didn't support this. Oh, why did I maybe end up in a bad marriage? Well, I wasn't really treating myself very good either. I don't even know if I loved myself. Well, of course you're going to get in a marriage, so everything started, I started looking at the reasons why. And I was able to find the answers when I was in a place of calmness and happiness. And that's just started me on a path that I've just continued. That path has brought me to feel confident in doing art, which was always in me. And I never thought I was good enough. And now I'm starting to make a living off of it. I'm in the beginning stages, but I feel really good. And I feel that something's going to work out and it's going to feel great, whatever it is.
Yeah. Two things that you mentioned that I thought it was really interesting. It was just your awareness that was increasing a
Mhm.
little bit at a time, right? So nothing like big happened all of a sudden, but you were able to just realize little things here and there and put it together too.
Yeah, I just, sorry to interrupt, but on that point, I want to say, it's like I went back to like old journals that I wrote as a teenager and like things I wrote in like creative writing class. And I had some of the awareness there, like the ocean brings me peace, and like things we probably all have. Like, we love playing and go gardening, but I never thought about using those as finding my authentic self and my happiness. So I really started going back to, how is this going to make me a better human in who I am and a happy person. So it was an awareness of taking those things that were always there and
Yeah.
like taking it to another level.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a tool
It
more.
is. It's a journey inward.
Yeah.
And I love
100%.
that. So I always have a hard time explaining that to my kids because, of course, they are way too young. I think it's harder for them to go inward. I mean, I'm not going to say it's harder for them because, well, it took me, oh, lots of years to be in the place I am today, of course. So that's why I want to teach them to
Yeah.
go inward like earlier in life. So I have this big desire to help them get there earlier, but I know, of course, I have to trust divine time. They have to live their lives. They have to go on their own journeys. And I understand all that. The mom really deep inside me wants to make things easier
Mhm.
for them. Yeah.
I think about that all the time. I love that that's something that you're passionate about because you're, in a way, you're a teacher, but you're a leader, you're a guide, you're guiding these podcasts. I always think about what can I do that it doesn't take my kids 50 some years like it took me to start peeling the onion back, then I'm like peeling the onion back. And I know I'm doing things that is going to drive them crazy also. So it's like the same time I try to minimize the trauma. I'm not, I don't want to, they're different than me. So I'm sure I'm going to do things that's going to drive them crazy. But I'm also so curious to learn, and you may know more about this, like the science behind the brain that's being developed, their brain that's being developed up until 25 years. How does that relate to their capacity to, I mean, I just can't, I'm trying to remember when I was a teenager in my 20s, how in my head I was. And even though yoga felt good or going to the beach felt good, I didn't, again, connect that with my own, like finding my authentic self. It just felt good. How much science there is behind. There's cultures that children are more mindful, there's no doubt. So I guess it's possible, but I always try to give myself a little grace too, because I want my kids to have an understanding of some of these things way before I did. It's like you're up against a lot, kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
but it's interesting. Yeah, there are ways and there is science behind that we can help them with mindfulness, right? But I think we are just going in the wrong direction with all the technology. This generation is gonna have a different journey than the one we had. And it's interesting you say that you cannot connect with your mind, your younger self mind. I have the same problem.
Mm,
I cannot remember.
mm.
And I did not write, so I don't have any journals to go back. So I wish I had, so I could go back and check, but I really don't know. I went through difficult times. I wish I had something, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah,
I really don't.
I don't remember much. I have more things coming up now doing work, the shadow work and the than I've remembered in a long time. And they'll come up in really vague, cloudy ways, but we're talking about kids. It's a big part of my life for sure. But one thing I try to do is, and I think society, we are getting better at this, is letting them sort of self-regulate, letting them cry, letting it being okay that they have emotions and feelings. And I like that that's happening a little bit more. We're not shaming them. It still happens, but I'm seeing more and within myself, not shaming my children if they are angry or sad, and hopefully getting them better tools to deal with those emotions, accepting those emotions are there and not pushing them aside, just having better tools to handle them, being outwardly angry, they're not being impulsive or reactive, which they're still going to be. But that's been nice because that was something that I definitely never had. And I would like to think that that makes a difference.
It
We'll see.
does. Yeah, so we never know. We never
Right?
know. I say that parenting is it's a long-term investment because we are only gonna know like years ahead. So, and we are all doing the best we can. But they call it the conscious parenting, right? When you are really doing things from a conscious mind and a conscious place. Yeah, I think that's it. It's always love. It's all they need. At the end of the day, love is all they need. They want to be heard, they want to be accepted and loved.
That feels good, right? We talked about in the beginning what makes you feel well. And when you feel their laughter and their love, and that makes you feel well. And it is so fleeting and it is so out of your control. And it is an interesting subject, I think, to talk about things that make you feel well that are in your control. Like we talk about the toolbox that you can reach to that are really always there, but then also being present for when these things happen that are fleeting, that are really completely out of your control, because parenting certainly challenges that. You could think, I had to put up a birthday party for my kids, and I put my heart into this birthday party, and a couple of my son's friends didn't show up, and he was so miserable. It was the worst birthday party he's ever had in his whole life. He let me know. And then other times, like I'll be doing nothing, like I'll just be outside tossing a ball to them. And we're so in the moment and so like almost on this like high. It's just so great. They're talking to me, we're present, and you just have to be open to talk about riding a wave,
Yeah, absolutely.
feeling well.
Yeah, we have to just cherish those little moments. I think that's really key too.
Recognize you're powerless. I mean, that it is out of your control. And I say that because for me, it's good to recognize that, to be patient with that and harness, like you said, embrace it and make it precious, to know you can't always control that. But there are things that are in your control for yourself
Hmm.
and bring you happiness. And maybe those moments when you're feeling that happiness, you can think about, what is this that makes me feel happy, you know?
Yeah. So you mentioned the toolbox many times.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you have in your toolbox?
Well, probably some of the things I've talked about. It is breath work and meditation, yoga, like all the arms of, I've been doing yoga since I was really young. It started because I was so stiff and tight. And this is back, oh my goodness, 40 years ago, dragged me to a Bikram class with Bikram. He said, I'm going to make those hips open up. And they did. And my body felt better. So yoga's been in my toolbox for a long time, but I've really now am trying to learn about the other arms of yoga, not just the physical. And that's been a big part of my toolbox, and always learning. It's definitely going to go somewhere. I don't know where. Just learning every day. Like I show up for a class, I show up fresh. And it's a way to be aware of my body, how it's feeling that day. Some days I don't want to do anything, and that's okay. So I use that as a big part of that. My breath, recognizing if I'm even breathing. And when was the last time I took a deep breath? Knowing how good that feels. Breath work has become a big part because I see how it changes me. So that's become a big part. Walking in nature, sometimes just walking out in the lawn with bare feet or in the dirt. I'll weed my garden in bare feet, using my hands and feet in dirt if I can't get out on a hike. I live in an area now that the hiking isn't as accessible as where I've lived in the past. So it's not quite as fulfilling, but it's always there. Certainly getting outside. I love this idea. You can even just go through a threshold to outside. If you're having a rough day, that's something in my toolbox. Just walk outside, like go check your mailbox if it's down the street. That's a good one. Music. What do I want to listen to? And then putting it on. Is it edgy? Is it mellow? Is it meditation? There's so much to choose from. Talk about endless possibilities.
Yeah.
And it can change you. It can change me.
Oh, yeah, it can change me too.
I do that with my kids.
Huh.
A lot of it's, will you turn this off, mom? But then it's, well, what do you want to listen to?
Yeah.
It's going to make you happy. So music's a big one too. Cooking, food I eat. It's a big one also. I just kind of in the moment, what do I feel like right now? That's going to sustain. So there's one thing, food's interesting because you could feel good for the moment, but put something in your body that maybe it's similar to alcohol that isn't going to make you feel so good, maybe even a couple hours from that point or the next day. Or so it becomes a mindful exercise. It's also important to me. If I'm going through a rough time, I try to eat very mindfully because my body, I think clear. It really comes down to thinking clear and open, and that like open heart, that flowy state. So all those things in my toolbox is like how to get to that flowy state. And it's like you're making choices all day long. What shoes am I going to put on that I feel more comfortable? Because then I'm going to breathe better. And what food am I going to put in my body? What music am I going to put on? I probably overthink it. I don't know, but why not? You're just going to choose something. You might as well choose mindfully.
Yes, absolutely. And that is so key
Helps. Yeah.
because when we are aware, and I love the saying that awareness is the birthplace of choice, because when we are aware, then we can choose mindfully. That kind of
Yes.
food is gonna nourish and gonna make you think clear, and it's gonna make you feel good in the long term and in the short term. That music is gonna put you in the flow state. So that is really the key. Be aware, and then you
Yeah.
would choose.
You are 100% right. And sometimes it's not so simple when your head is spinning and you're in a bad, bad situation. And I've been in those situations, and you have to give yourself a lot of grace. And I think that's where you have to trust that one door right now. Maybe you just need to write in a journal just to figure out what you even think you may want. You need to just whatever pops in your head, walk outside, do this, do that. It's like peeling back an onion, and you just have to trust that eventually you'll be able to really tap into maybe your intuition and stop whatever you're ruminating about, thinking about. And they could be real, real issues. It's not downplaying the issue, but if you're not able to make a good decision, a clear decision, if it's getting in the way, which it usually is, just keep pulling things out of your toolbox. And that's the trust too. It's everything we're talking about. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not always easy. Some days you just
Oh,
have to
yeah.
sit and do nothing, and life is hard. It's
Yeah.
not like you wake up and go, "Oh, I'm gonna breathe and eat my salad and everything's gonna be great." It's life is hard.
Yeah. It's just riding the roller coaster mindfully
Yeah.
because we know that we're going to have ups and downs, highs and lows, but it's okay. That's
Yeah.
how life is. And if you're aware and if we have our toolbox that we can access that makes us feel better in that moment, that's what we need, right? Yeah, I love that. So, do you have a particular routine, like things that you do every day, or you kind of just let it flowy, whatever you feel in the mood?
Yes, I do have a routine that I start my day with, and then it kind of just depends because a lot of it depends on my children's schedule and demands and or not, but and work. And well, every morning I do start, and when I walk into my kitchen, which I do right away in my pajamas, I don't put on any music. I just have silence. Sometimes I put on a guided meditation while I make my coffee. And something about even the act of making the coffee every single morning just feels warm. And I sit in the same chair
Mm.
with my cup of coffee, and I close my eyes and I meditate. Sometimes I have a couple minutes. Sometimes I have 20 minutes. Sometimes I have a journal there. So if my head can't even sit still, like if I woke up thinking of something, which happens, I'll write it out. I find that that helps just get my head a little clearer is to write it out. I'm a list person because I get very distracted. So I'll take that time to make a list that then turns into other lists and other lists. So I take that little moment of quiet before I get my children up to sit down in that one chair, that one spot, something about that now when I sit in it, on like my shoulders go down a little bit. I just feel more grounded. It's become
Your
um
surrender chair.
my surrender giant like that. I think just how things can trigger you, right? Like sometimes you can get triggered by someone yelling or triggered by whatever it is. It can work the other way too, where you have something that reminds you of that. It just brings you back to that place so that is something I do try to do now every single morning because it has made a difference. When I don't do it, I'll like be running around and like some maybe my kid's awake, and I instead of sitting in the chair for a couple minutes and doing even 5 minutes of something, I'll immediately go and what do you need? What do you want? And I find myself sort of going down a little bit of a frenetic pace. And I think, oh my gosh, I never sat in my chair. Like I never sat, I never meditated. So it works for me, just the little bit that I can do in that morning. And then throughout the day, I do try to just check in I'm always trying to check in with myself and just be aware of how I'm doing and pivot accordingly. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. So you said art was always part of your life since you were a child, but you never thought it was good enough. Is that right?
Hmm.
Mm. Tell me when that change happened and you came to realize that art was like a big part of your life.
The change happened. I had a stationery store and I used to design stuff for clients. They would need something illustrated. I went to design school. I went to UCLA. I realized I had skills. I didn't even think my skills were good enough at the time, but apparently people liked what I was illustrating, but I always did it for other people. When my marriage was getting rough, I would go down into the kitchen, into a corner, and I would paint. I'd fill in these botanical etchings. It was kind of like a coloring book-ish, but with watercolors. And I did it because it got me out of my head and it made me feel good, just like we were talking about, not even thinking that they were that great. Then a couple of them I thought, maybe these aren't so bad. And I put them on some greeting cards and they sold really well in my shop.
Wow.
I made more and they sold well. And then I had a little exhibit of them and people said they loved them. I still, within me, was very self-conscious because I was still going through a really hard time. So my head kind of wasn't caught up to even the response I was getting, which is typical of my journey. Even as a young child and a teenager, I would do art. And I remember someone hung up a painting of mine at my school, and I took it down because I thought there's no way this is good enough to hang here. So I've
Okay.
always had that in me. So this was sort of happening, like this art was selling. And at the same time, I started healing from my divorce and feeling better about myself in general, finding love of myself and just being a happier person. And then it just sort of came together as, you should try this because you're pretty good. It kind of was a culmination of taking in, accepting the compliment, someone saying, I like your piece, and not answering, oh, well, that's a copy of like making an excuse about it and just saying thank you. That was so hard for me to just say thank you.
The receiving. Us women, we have such a hard time receiving.
That was hard, but that happened when I became a happier person. It's just so funny how these things just sort of all come together. And I love this idea too. And I print on rice paper because rice paper, I love paper. And that represents to me the threads of things literally that come together and are intertwined. And that's been my experiences. Again, it's not like one aha moment, but it's all these things stitched together that just start working, that you just start seeing, like, again, the magic of it working. I'm feeling better. And now I'm doing things just out of my heart. I'm not tracing something. Not that there's any shame in that, but it feels so good to just trust myself and what I want to paint and go with it. I would love to say not care what other people think, but I am trying to make a living off of it too. So, I'm navigating all that, like doing some art as a business and maybe some of it is just for myself, and that's okay. So it's new for me, but it's really neat that I'm actually in this place that I could even think about it, that is where I am right now.
Yeah. So I love that I can see your
Mhm.
paintings
Yeah.
hanging. So tell me more about the work you are doing now with your art.
My first series that I did myself started off being these ethereal ocean paintings that you can see some of the prints back there. And I realized that that's what was sort of coming out of me because I needed to calm myself down. This was the beginning of my path of art. I thought I was going to have a blank canvas, which always terrified me, and I'd like splash it with some dramatic, explosive, like cathartic thing. And I tried that. It did not work at all. It felt really anxious.
Mm.
And every time I would just like smudge it out, and like the more ethereal, grounding, calm work is what ended up feeling
Serving
like
you.
what I need to do. Yeah. And people started resonating with it too. It's been neat to share it with people that also are looking for something calm. So that was the beginning. And then I did some landscapes that were also a little ethereal, but I live in beautiful Santa Ynez Valley with beautiful light and hills and skies. And I started portraying those in my own way. And now those are showing up in a local space and they've done well. That's been neat because I think people can feel the space that I'm in this valley. So they can feel the geography, the glow that I felt. I think I was able to do that. And the other thing, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Which goes back to I'm because it's new for me. It's like, what do I feel like doing today? It's a little bit all
Yes.
over the place, but that's okay too. And talk about the shoulds. I'm gonna just talk about the shoulds. There's such a thing in the art, like you need to have one style and to be whatever. So I'm navigating all that too because I am a bit all over the place right now because it's all new to me and so exciting. Just like the healing journey. It's same with my art. So I have a printing press that I print off of and I make etchings and that I love. But one of the coolest things I do is I take a classic realism oil painting class. So we
Mm.
set up still life, like the old Renaissance Flemish paintings, and we paint that. It's become this incredible meditative process. That work has also become somewhat of a spiritual journey. My teacher, who's amazing, was also happened to be a spiritual teacher. She's a beautiful classic realist thing. And what you would think of as something that's very, well, I thought it would be very technical. I felt like I needed to learn again, like how to mix colors and how to draw and perspective really comes down to portraying, depicting what is on that setup and not putting any words to what you think it should be. So don't paint a lemon to look like a lemon. You paint it as if it's all these little shades of value and color. Maybe it's purple, maybe it's yellow. Just paint what you see and don't
Mm.
attach anything to it. Don't attach any description to it. Just paint along the plane. Do you see a little patch of this and a little patch of that? And all these things, they start coming together and it comes out to be the best looking lemon you've ever seen. When you start attaching what you
Wow.
think it's supposed to be, it never works out the same.
Hmm.
It's been the neatest process. But part of that is also, okay, I see a certain color. I think so many of us are conditioned like the sky is blue and we all learned our water's blue. We all learned its reflection. But when you're painting, you're looking at things way different. You start seeing the red and the yellows and all the colors. So now I even walk when I am driving. I see all the different colors that are in a certain area or grouping. Been an incredible awareness doing this class. It's
Wow.
been and I can't wait to see where that's going because I'm still learning. Talk about learning. I mean, the art, I'm always learning.
Yeah. So life is just a big,
Yeah.
big school, right?
Yeah.
It's a never-ending learning process. Never ending. Yeah, that is what's good about it because it will be boring if at some point we knew everything, right? Yeah, just the new things and the new perspectives and the new processes, they make life rich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah,
Exciting.
very
Yeah.
exciting. So then you were using your press, painting watercolors, and now the classic still.
Yeah, so I paint pretty much in oils now, oil painting. Even the more ethereal ones were all oils. And sometimes I paint oil on the rice paper. And then I have a printing press. When I was young, I loved to do pen and ink drawings. So little etchings, very meditative now I'm realizing. And I like the idea that you can reproduce things. So I etch plates and I run them through a little press that I have on a table in my house. I just work out of my house because of my kids right now. This little space that you can see is studio that I set up that was a kind of a patio area that I closed
Mhm.
off so I could have a space and be home. So I have a little printing press that I've been playing around with. It's really fun. It's kind of playful. Like you can have fun with it too.
And then you sell your stuff in your store. You still have your
I
store?
I closed my shop. That was
Okay.
part of my journey was closing my shop as well to focus on my art and spending more time with my kids because it was hard to do both after my divorce. I loved my shop. I loved it, but it took a lot out of me. And this way I could have a little more flexible schedule, especially on the weekends. And I sell everything. I have a website.
Mm-hmm.
My shop name was called The Giving Ink, like giving
Uh-huh.
back. And I kept that name. So my business name or my name is still, it's still thegivingink.com and on social media and everything. So I kept all that because I really loved that name. And that's still, I consider what I do as like part of it's putting it out there and hopefully bringing a little joy to somebody or a thought or make them think about something or feel something. So I really believe that that's part of what art can do. So I kept that. And so I saw everything online and I have I have an exhibit right now in Los Olivos and one coming up and looking to show more and just trying to get a little more artwork, body of art down to start showing more and more. So it's happening and I'm selling it, which is nice. So it's good. So far, so
Oh,
good.
excellent. Then the Giving Ink,
Yeah.
it's kind of where you have your portfolio of
Yeah. The
work.
website for sure, thegivingink.com. And then Instagram is thegivingink / Juliet, which is my name, Michelle Juliet. Typical social media, like all kinds of stuff is up there, stories and my artwork, and it's kind of new-ish for me. So I have a Facebook page and Chloe is helping me with putting stuff up on TikTok, which I'm be happy if it's another world and it's not I think I'd be happy just painting and that's it. We'll see. But it's been also fun. Like there's a playfulness to it. So I'm just going with it. Just like we'll just see where it leads.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
I'll be on TikTok like my whole life, but maybe it'll lead to something else.
I'm with you.
My kids are mortified. They won't follow me.
Oh,
But their friends are starting to, which I find really funny. So
it is funny. It is funny. Oh man. So then thegivingink.com for your
yeah.
website and the Instagram just for everything else.
Yeah, the Giving Ink.
Yeah.
And some have the Giving Ink M Juliet because things were taken or I don't know, various
Yeah.
things. But yeah, the Giving Ink, you can find me.
Uh-huh. And so do you also do like special requests if people were thinking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do collaborations. I love collaborations. I just did a collaboration with this. Is it okay if I talk about my collaboration? I don't know
Yeah,
if
of course.
I'm like, because this is so fun for me talking about like filling your bucket, like you're going full circle to the first thing. I realized not having my shop, I miss connecting with people. And then I thought, well, how am I going to do this with art? I'm working out of my house. I couldn't really have a studio not here because it's just hard. Like I paint like while my rice is cooking for dinner and, just how it is. I'm going to collaborate with people. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then it started happening where the local cheese shop reached out to me to do an illustration for them. And it started with me going to paint like a wheel of cheese and put their name on it. And I said, well, we're going to create a still life with your cheeses. And I set up all these fun still lifes that I then photographed. I just finished it. It's going to go up on my site. And then I made illustrations from those photographs. And then the photographs also came out great. So I'm in their shop working with them. It was so much fun and it allowed me to do what I love. And then they now have the illustrations that they're going to go print on cards and whatever they want. So that was great. And I want to do more of that. I will do more of that. I already have another one lined up. And so that's been a way for me to connect and really fill that part of me.
Mhm.
And it is funny, like I'll come off of days like that, like maybe this is for you with even a podcast, and then I have to like get grounded again because it's like a high and then I have to go. So that's what goes back to the beginning of what do I need right now? Like, okay, I got that filled and I'm feeling a little bit like up in my head area and I need to bring it back down and you need it all because if I was down there, I'd get sad. I'd get lonely and sad and I needing to connect. So it's like we're complicated creatures, you know.
Yes, we are. That's how we feel. I feel
So the
after,
collaborations.
yeah, after my interviews. I feel that high and I want to be in that energy, but yeah, I have to go back and be grounded. Yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to have that high.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd love to collaborate more for sure. So anybody that's interested in having illustrations done or work done can take a look. I gotta work on that page on my site because it's a little new but there is something there. It's just under collaborations. And that's been great. So yeah.
Very cool. Is there anything else you would like to talk about that we didn't touch?
No,
No,
I think we touched a lot of different things. It was wonderful.
I thought so too. Thank you so much for reaching out. It was wonderful to get to know you, and your work was a joy, this
Thank you.
conversation.
Was for me as well. Very grateful that you hold this space for people to talk about their journeys and what makes them feel good. So I'm very grateful to be here.
All the contacts go to the show notes so people can
Yeah,
find you, and hopefully they will go to your website and check your work, and hopefully you'll find lots of collaborations to do and feel that joy. Thank you so much, Michelle. It was lovely.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening. It means a lot to me that you chose to be here. To help Mama Terra's mission of making the world a disease-free place for generations to come, you can follow the show, write a review, or talk to your friends about it. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. Every week, I craft good health and wellness tips, recipes, and book recommendations with love and care, just for you. My intention is to give you information and resources to help you make good choices and feel well. Find the link to subscribe in the show notes. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you again for being here. We have lots of new episodes coming up, so stay tuned. And remember, good is what makes you feel well.
Transcende, levita, toma banho de cachoeira, abraça uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva e